Hi, I'm Leah Voysey from Terrifier 2, where I play the Clown Cafe host, and you're listening to the Baron's Hideout podcast.
One. Joining us today is the Clown Cafe icon herself, Leah Voysey. We're here to talk about Terrifier 2, horror, streaming, and music. So let's all go up in flames together as we talk to Leah about Terrifier 2. Leah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I feel like for everybody on the Terrifier 2 team, whether you have a small part or a big part, I'm going to say that you have probably one of the biggest parts. Apart from like all the main characters. I went to go see Ice Nine Kills a couple weeks ago, and they're playing the Clown Cafe
Yeah, they are.
intro at all their shows. There's clips and people singing it, people doing covers of it.
hmm
It's it's been awesome. So it's cool to see other people start getting a spotlight from this little film.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a really cool seeing the fan reaction. I think that Terrifier just has the best fans, the most dedicated fans. They're making us all feel really special. And yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that my role is particularly big, as you said in the film, but I think it's memorable. And I think
Exactly.
that's why people are reacting so positively towards it, especially because of the song The Clown Cafe, which was written by John and Al Kaplan. I get that question actually all the time if I wrote the song. I'm like, no, I'm just the actor. There's some other big brains behind that.
It's so catchy. Like you could hear that on the radio, and you would be like, "Wow,
Yeah,
this is a
right.
great song!" And I think they should start playing it on the radio because that would
I
be awesome.
agree. That'd be cool.
It is such a memorable scene as well because it's so like out of context with the rest of the movie, and
Oh,
it's
for sure.
it's kind of like it almost kind of reminds me of like a bit of a kind of Freddy Krueger film in a way, like that kind of dreamscape where it just all really goes like batshit. It's like, what's going on here? And
Yeah.
that scene in particular, when 'cause after watching, I've watched the movie a few times now, and that's the scene that always comes to me straight away. Is that Clown Cafe scene? I love it. I think it's great.
Well,
It's
thank you guys. Yeah,
it's
I
such
like
a
how,
beautiful.
It's
yeah,
such a
for
that
sure.
scene.
And it is so different from the rest of the film because obviously it doesn't exist within the realm of reality, I guess. And just it's so bright in comparison to everything else that we're seeing. So yeah, I guess I'm a little biased because I'm in the scene, but I definitely would consider it one of my favorite ones from the film.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one that everybody talks about. Even when they were doing the live tweeting and everything, I think it was last week of Terrifier
hmm
2, everybody was just going nuts for that scene. And even when I saw it in the theater, I think I went like 3 or 4 times to go see this movie in the theater. And everybody loved that scene. They were all laughing and clapping. Some people were singing it, leaving the theater. I was like, yes,
Yes.
yes, that's what we need.
We love to
Um,
see it.
Horror is just thriving, and it's awesome to see you a part of this really big movie for a very small budget. It
Yeah.
it the success of Terrifier 2, not just like budget wise, but for the horror fandom and horror movies in general is amazing.
Yeah,
What it's been doing.
it's been a great year for horror in general. I think that so many cool films came out. So the fact that we weren't sort of pushed under the surface because of that, that we were able to push through all the noise of all the other films out and really make such a huge impact this Halloween season was awesome. I mean, I never anticipated this film would be in theaters for
Me
three
either.
days, which is what it was supposed to be. And now it's been over a month and it's still in theaters. It's just absolutely wild.
Yeah, and also all the love that Screambox has been giving it, which
That
Screambox
too,
they're
yeah.
very close with us on this podcast.
Oh,
And
nice.
we were actually able to see Terrifier 2 early because of Screambox, so we love them for that.
Nice.
And
Especially over here in the UK because we didn't get it. I think, in fact, I still don't think we've got it. I think we can rent it or buy it on Prime.
I think
Maybe
you can
there's a
get a physical now. I'm pretty sure there's
actually
physicals you can buy.
you're right. There is a physical release now, actually. Yeah, but we had to wait. We had to wait. You guys got it way before us over here. That's always the way. You guys always get the cool shit
hmm
before us.
Always.
USA is good for some things.
Oh,
We'll just leave it
it's
at
A few
that.
things.
There's
Um,
such a huge Terrifier fan base over here in the UK. Even before people got to see anything to do with the second film, people were in love with art already. You know, people going to conventions, horror cons, dressed in cosplay as art.
Yeah.
You know, so he is definitely, you know, cemented his place in as a horror icon for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. Yeah, I feel like we're going to be seeing the imagery of Terrifier 2 for a
Oh yeah.
long time.
Hmm.
can't wait for T3.
Oh, me too.
Oh,
Me too.
So one thing I always like to do with our guests is I like to kind of go back to the beginning. I know you kind of have your hand in a lot of stuff, Leah. You do streaming. You also have a little production company. I'm sure it's
Hmm.
Late Bloomer Pictures.
Yep.
And obviously you sing and lots of other things. So I wanted to kind of take it back to where it all began. Was it when you were a child? Did you discover your love for music, or was it for film?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I just had a love of the arts in general, but I feel like it started actually with like musical theater, which is so funny because now I have like really very little interest in musical theater. But when I was younger, I was really shy, and my mom put me into theater classes to kind of like open me up a little bit. And then, I started getting soundtracks for my birthdays from like um different Broadway shows. And there was like this little room in our basement. It was just like this tiny little room and there was nothing in it. So I had like a little karaoke machine down there, and I had like all these notebooks where I would like print out the lyrics to all these songs, like not just musical theater, but like songs as well, put them in all these binders, and just like sit down in my basement singing like karaoke like day in and day out. And from there it evolved to theater, and like I went to college as a theater major, but they didn't have a musical theater program, they didn't have a film program. But by then I sort of like knew that I wanted to transition more into film than anything. Then I lived in New York for 8 years, I got into voiceover work through that. So yeah, for me there's never really been like one main focus of like, this is what I want to do. I just consider myself like an all around creative person. And I just sort of am doing whatever feels good in the moment of like whatever is like interesting me the most.
Wow, that's a lot, and that's another thing that Dean and I have been kind of realizing too. Is like everybody who's in film that we've talked to, like in horror or even like this artists, they're all putting their hands in so many different outlets in art, and then they kind of like always go towards film. Like sometimes they'll
Hmm.
start like doing drawings, and it's like, you know what? Now I want to do animation for or
Yeah.
stuff like that. Or like I was a dancer, but now like I want to do stuff on screen. So it's always funny to see everybody's paths kind of reaching the same point.
Yeah.
Um, and it's cool, and I like seeing everybody thriving in the things that they love, and seeing
Hmm.
you in this film, and you actually play a double role, which is really really cool. You don't really see that
Oh
a
yeah,
lot.
that was so
You
fun.
don't really see that in a lot of films, like people doing double roles, especially nowadays. That's like more something that you would have seen in maybe like late 70s to like the early 90s.
Yeah.
Now everybody's like, I play one role and that's it, nothing else.
And I'm curious too, like what the reasoning behind that was. Like, I'm not sure if for Damien it was just sort of like an Easter egg to leave for fans to find, or if there's like
mm.
a deeper meaning to it. I know that like that's a question I've gotten a few times, but I don't know the answer. So I'm just as curious as other people. Is like, what was
Yeah.
I doing in two roles in that film? I'm curious to find out.
Well, I know, like from talking to Damien, this movie, like he was saying, he wanted to answer some questions, but he also
Hmm.
wanted a lot more to pop up. So I would imagine that we may not be seeing the end of Clown Cafe. Might be a different version of it, or coming back as something. We don't really know
I hope so.
exactly
That'd be
what
fun.
happened to you. We just hear you kind of screaming at the end of the movie, and
Yeah.
that's kind of it. So who knows? Maybe it could be the latter. It could be both things. Like it's two realities morphing into one.
Hmm.
That's why I think this movie is so brilliant, because there's so much there, so much to for you to think about and have to
Oh,
go
for
back and watch
sure.
the movie again. You know,
Yeah, it
brilliant.
definitely left a lot of questions for the audience, which I think is sort of like the best thing that a film can do. Because it also definitely satisfied the gore fans, the slasher fans. Like, we got all of that, but in addition to that, we got this like cast of characters that we're like really rooting for and we like, and we got all these unanswered questions leading us up to whatever Terrifier 3 is going to be, which
Yeah.
is so exciting.
Yeah, very, very excited for it. Dean, I'll let you throw a couple of questions. I know you have a over there.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah. So how did you get involved with Terrifier 2? How did that all come around? And had you already seen the first movie before you auditioned? Like, was you kind of, did you know about art and had you, yeah.
I knew about the film because I was friendly with the guys from Fuzz on the Lens who worked on Terrifier. So that's Jason Levy, Michael Levy, Steve Del Sala. I'd worked with them on film projects before.
Okay.
So I remember when we were working on something, they had mentioned that soon they were getting ready to get into casting for Terrifier 2. And they told us about Terrifier 1, but that's kind of all I knew about it, was them kind of explaining it to me.
Yeah.
But then I saw the casting notice and for Terrifier 2. So I submitted for that. And I think I texted them and I said, like, hey, just submitted. don't miss me. But I was brought in for Allie and Brooke initially.
Oh wow,
Right.
that would have been
Yeah.
crazy. You doing that scene as Allie?
You know what? More power to them. I'm happy where I landed.
I mean, you did go up in flames, so I guess,
That wasn't me though. That was
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
else.
yeah.
No, I think it all worked out the way that it was supposed to, especially like with me having a singing background. I'm very, very happy that that was the role I ended up with. But more than that, like I'm glad that they even thought of me because, they didn't reach out to me for the initial audition. Like I submitted myself and I let them know that I was interested and they brought me in for Allie and Brooke. But for the Clown Cafe, they contacted me about that. I don't even think they put a
Oh.
casting notice out for it. They just knew that Jason knew that I sang. And so he thought like this role might be good for you. Let's do a video and see. And I guess Damien approved it. So that's how I ended up getting that role.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
awesome.
Yeah. And then the nurse was added in like months and months later after we had already finished the Clown Cafe. Like I thought I was totally done with the film. And then Damien, I guess, changed that scene. I think the scene always existed, but I think originally it was just like going to be another actor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then he asked me to do it, and I was extremely grateful for that.
And now it's an iconic scene forever.
Yes.
I'm taking a lot of questions off my list because you've answered quite a few of them in just that one
Oh.
answer.
Sorry, I talk a lot.
No, it's good.
No, that's perfect.
No,
That's
it's
perfect.
great. Are you a big fan of the horror genre? Have you always been a big fan of the horror genre?
I am a big fan of the horror genre. So I always have this thing where like I love facing my fears. Like I don't like when I have things that I'm afraid of. So I go out of my way to like combat that. So when I was a kid, the first horror film I ever saw was Poltergeist,
Oh
and the
yeah.
Oh
second one
wow.
was Chucky.
Oh yeah.
And I was young. It scared me so much. Those films really, really scared me. And I think because of that, I was always so interested in the genre and
Mm,
like overcoming that. And now like the feeling of getting scared, I like absolutely love it. I wouldn't say like within the horror genre that like gore would necessarily be like my favorite, but the truth is like I really do love all of it. I just haven't seen like a ton of the classics,
right.
There's so
There's
many
a
films
lot.
I haven't seen. So I can't say that I'm like a bona fide like well-versed horror fan, but like do I like getting scared? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And like I can sit home and watch a horror film alone with all the lights off. I'm not someone who's going to get like freaked out by that in the least bit.
It's
And I do it pretty often.
That's so weird too when you think of it. Like everybody's like, "Oh, horror is so comforting." I feel like everybody who doesn't like horror, they're just like, these people are just the whack jobs. What are they
I've
doing?
Googled this before. Like, what is the psychopathy behind people who like horror and gore? But my research was inconclusive. So I
Yeah.
don't know what it is that makes us like this stuff. But
Tell you what, there was Clive, there was a book, and I can't. Do you know what? This is no help at all because I can't remember what the book was called. But there was a foreword in the book by Clive Barker, who did all the
mm,
Hellraiser movies.
oh, my favorite.
Yeah, explaining exactly why people like horror. And I remember reading it, thinking, "Oh my God,
Ooh.
yeah, that's true." But I can't remember what the book's called. So
Well, if you find out, let me
I
know
will let you know.
because number one, I love Hellraiser. That's like one of my favorite franchises. And I would also love to know why people love horror, because I don't understand it, and yet I'm one of them. So
Because we're all freaks.
yeah,
In the best of
exactly.
ways.
Because like
That's what
real
anyone would do.
gore, like no way. I can't do real gore at all.
Yeah, same. It's
It
it,
was
it Go ahead,
it
Dean.
was something along the lines of us kind of just mocking our own mortality or something like that, you know,
Yeah, I
making
like that.
fun of it. It was something along those lines. Clive Barker put it very, very well, but I can't remember exactly what he said. I'll
Yeah,
try and dig it out and I'll let you guys know. I'll see if I can find it.
please do.
One thing I wanted to ask you, I know you were kind of touching on this, that you wanted to get into, I guess, horror conventions or conventions like in general. Is there any ones that you would like want to do, or like Terrifier or anything else? Is there like one that you're like, I want to get into this convention?
Well, I'm on a few conventions at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm already on conventions. So I'm going to Spookala in December in a few weeks.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and then I'm going to CreepyCon in California in February, and I have another one in August. I don't really know cons that well, but I have had people like mention them to me and say that they're interested in having me, or they would love to have me. Like fans will reach out and say like, oh, are you going to this con, are you going to that con? So one I've seen a lot is like Texas Frightmare is one people ask me about a
Yeah.
lot.
Huge.
There's one, I think it's called Hellhound.
Yep.
Is that,
Yep.
yeah, that's another one I hear all the time.
Yeah, they're
So I
huge.
mean, I will go to any con that the people running it will let me come to, honestly.
You need to come
I'm not doing
to.
much.
You need to come to Salem Horror Fest in April.
That sounds amazing too. Yeah.
Yep. It's
Wait,
great.
okay. Which one is that one?
The one in Massachusetts.
Okay. Well, yes, because I knew it was Salem. I think, yeah, I think I would, I've heard of that one and I was trying to get on
Yeah,
it.
you should definitely come.
That's not the Ice Nine Kills one, is it? Their
they have
convention?
been there. They did a couple of things
No,
there.
they like run their own convention, I'm
No,
pretty
that's
sure.
the Silver
Silver
Scream.
Screen.
Oh,
Oh,
then
the
that was the one I
Silver
was
Scream.
thinking of, because I think that's in Boston also.
Yeah, that one I think they're already selling tickets for. I think it's next
Yeah.
September.
Mm-hmm.
So they have that one. But yeah, the Salem Horror Fest. Dean and I talk about it a lot because I love Salem Horror Fest. I support Kay Lynch and everything that she does and what she does for the horror community in general. Is I always try to invite everybody that we get on the show to at least come and visit, even if you're not going to
Yeah.
attend there as a guest, because it's so awesome. And we moved it to April so that way it would be easier for people to go there. Because for anybody who knows, especially me, I live in Massachusetts and Salem's my second home. Is that in October it is a shit show.
I'm
Because
sure for Salem, yeah.
yeah, so it's gonna be in April, and she's renting out a giant hall for vendors. This is the biggest it's ever gonna be. Dean's
Oh,
gonna be there
cool.
vending.
Nice.
We may or may not be doing a live show there. So
That's cool.
there's a lot of cool things going on. So I'm inviting you
Well,
to
thank
come
you.
on and
I
just
mean, you sold me. I've been wanting to go to Salem so badly. So
yep. April's the best time. It's like right there in
yeah.
spring. The nice cool weather still. It's not too crazy, so it'll be
Mm-hmm.
perfect.
Kay
Come
would love
on
to
over.
as well, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
Kay would love to have some of the Terrifier guests there.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to ask you is, since we kind of brought it up earlier, was your late bloomer picture. So how did that come about? And would you want to explain to our listeners and or watchers of what exactly it is?
So Late Bloomer Pictures is a film company that I co-own with my friend Marissa Bertani, who actually, fun fact, was also in Terrifier 2. She was the TV anchor in that
Oh,
one scene.
okay.
Yeah. With when Sienna's like watching TV and she's talking about how Victoria Hayes messed up that woman's face. That's Marissa, my business partner. And it is a woman and queer run production company focusing on LGBT led stories. And Marissa and I, like, since we've met, have always wanted to produce work together and write things together. And actually, that was how we met the Fuzz on the Lens guys. She had known them through a project that she worked on them with. And then we had hired them to help us produce a little 5-episode web series called Roommates. And that wasn't released under Late Bloomer Pictures. That was released under Fuzz on the Lens. But that was the first thing that we initially had done. And, since then we were just trying to figure out what our first like debut project under the company was going to be. And we actually got to film it back in April. We crowdfunded it, which was incredible that we were able to raise a budget. And it's called When It Pays. And it is about a struggling writer in New York City who is coming home for the Jewish Passover holiday. And she's hiding a big secret about her career from her family. And
Okay.
the film is basically it's like a slice of life film
Okay.
that I actually star in and I was the head writer on. It isn't out yet. We are still in post production for it, but I'm really excited to show it off to people and really show people what Late Bloomers is about, and
Well, I'm excited.
get working on that.
I'm excited. I want to see what else you're doing under the scope
Well,
of everything else.
I don't want to spoil anything because it's not confirmed yet, but we do have another little script. So it's a very short, and I don't want to say anything about it except that it is a horror comedy and it's incredible. It's so good, and I'm pushing for that to be our next project. So we might be dipping our hands into horror just a touch for our next
Awesome.
project.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited for all of it. I mean, keep creating, keep doing what you're doing. We're always looking for new things to watch and consume. So the more people doing that for us, the better. So thank you for
Yeah.
doing that, Leah.
Of course.
Dean, I don't know if you have any more you want to throw before I go to
Yeah.
other ones I have.
How many times how many times, I bet this is a lot. How many times do you get asked to sing the Clown Cafe song? I bet you get asked all the time.
So I don't get asked to sing it that often because like I'm not face to face with people, but I
Yeah.
do get like the question I get the most is when will it be on Spotify? And the answer to that question is I don't know.
It'll probably be when
But
the
people ask me.
vinyl's released or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know, like I spoke to Damien about it and it's definitely happening. I don't have control over that. That's like not my department. But people ask
Yeah.
me probably every day. I get that question
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
Twitter specifically.
How long did it take to film that whole scene? Because it's the set. It's like a kind of like a kids' TV studio, isn't it? That's the way it's
Yeah,
all set up. How long did it take to kind of film that whole
it was
sequence?
5 days in
Oh
total.
wow, a
Yeah.
week. Yeah.
So because everyone, in addition to everything with me and everything with art, there and then like Sienna with the sword, there is also like all the deaths that happen, and every single person that was
Mm,
on set that day got a close up of their death.
Yeah.
So
mm,
that in itself just took so long. There's just so many angles that we needed to get, and yeah, so 5 days.
5 days. Wow, that's a long shoot. And did you have any input into your costume or makeup at all?
No, not
No.
so much into the costume or the makeup. Like that was all pretty much set before I got there. But what I will say about Damien that I really love working with him as a director is he obviously comes in with his vision, but both times I worked with him on both scenes, he's always asking for actors' input. Like I specifically remember something in the nurse scene where he said like, I was holding a clipboard and he was like, where do you think you're coming in from? Like, where do you think you're coming from? Does it make sense that you're holding this clipboard? Really asking my input because he doesn't want
Mm,
to like dictate something to us, I guess, that's going to feel
Yeah.
uncomfortable and then us not be
mhm.
able to perform it well. So I always appreciated that about him, that he really does care about how the actors are feeling and their input in the scenes and stuff. And it really
Yeah,
feels like an extremely collaborative process.
yeah, that's cool.
That's something I don't really hear a lot about with other directors, of being, kind of like a guide to the actors and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot, and like asking for their input. It's usually just like, okay, this is how it's written, and this is how we're doing it. We're shooting it this way, getting it done, and that's it. So
Yeah.
it's cool to hear that we have people like Damien that want to make sure that the product that he's creating for everybody, that it's logical in your mind and in everything else, and making sure that like, okay, this is coming off naturally. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just like a forced thing. So that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely appreciated that from him.
I was listening to another chat that you did with somebody, and that you said in it that you'd been to the theater to watch it in a theater that you used to go to growing up as a
Yeah.
kid. How that must have been really bizarre. That must have, but in like in a cool way. That must have been like, wow, watching all these movies kind of growing up, and now you're watching yourself on this screen. That must
Yeah,
have been a really cool moment.
that was so wild because I feel like every time I go back to that theater, it's also like next to a mall. And, we always just, as kids, used to get dropped off at the mall and then like
Yeah,
you meet up with your friends there. You're not like shopping, you're just kind of like, that was the spot we hung out. And then the movie theater was walking distance. So every time I go there, I get this like nostalgic feel. So then
yeah,
to be going there, and I went with my best friend from high school and we went to see a movie that I was in and it was crazy. And I
yeah.
remember there were two showings that day. So we went to the earlier one. It was around like 6-ish. So it got out around like 9, something like that. And the theater was like, when we got out of the theater, like the actual place was like packed with people. And
Oh
you could
wow.
just tell from like what people were wearing, like you could tell what film that they were
Oh
there
yeah.
for. So
Yeah,
like, yeah, like I knew that late showing was going to get like so many people in. So that was really cool too, to like leave the theater and then come out and then like see all these people that are about to go like watch something that like you helped make. It
yeah.
was all really cool.
Yeah,
That's
I would
so
imagine
cool.
that's a really cool experience.
Hmm.
So another thing that we can talk about, since we're talking so much about the Clown Cafe part, how was it acting with Chris Jericho?
Oh, so fun. That was great. So, I mean, I can't say that I was like starstruck. Like, I'm not going to lie and pretend like I'm a huge wrestling fan because I don't sport much at all. But I knew that like my cousins were really into wrestling. So I texted them and I was like, before the shoot, I was like, do you guys know who Chris Jericho is? And they were like, oh my God, that's crazy. And so I knew it was a big deal. But I think because like I didn't know who he was, I was just like cool as a cucumber. Like I wasn't,
Yeah.
starstruck or anything like that, which is I think a better way to be, like
Yeah, more
um
level-headed.
yeah, exactly. But I thought the scene was so natural. I think working with him was so easy. People have even given the feedback that it like really felt like we were coworkers and we'd like known each other a really long time. And I just remember that being such a natural, like easy day on set. And he was awesome, like so nice. Yeah, that was great.
I want more of that scene. I want like a whole build up of like your actual day in the life working at that hospital before everything goes on. I want
Yes.
more of that.
Like a little short film of me and Chris just like
Yeah,
doing our
yeah.
jobs.
Yeah,
I feel like
and
it's
eating
gonna pick
brains.
up. I feel like the third one's gonna pick up from there though.
Damien
Well,
did tweet something like that. He said that Terrifier 3 is going to pick up right where Terrifier 2 left off.
yeah,
Mm.
but
So
that begs the question: is it going to be with
with Sienna or with,
Anna or
yeah.
you, or is
Uh-huh.
it going to be a split reality thing? So this is where you really start
Yeah.
thinking, like, wow, is he going in like a multi-dimensional
You
film?
know, like, when I was saying earlier on about the Nightmare on Elm Street vibe, like where you like, for example, Dream Warriors, you'll see like a nurse, but then the nurse will appear in the dream as
Mm-hmm.
like a kind of character. Maybe that's what he's got in mind. Damien's got in mind for the character. The character that you played as the nurse in the Clown Cafe. Girl. I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, I get what you mean. And it's also like they say something like you can't dream something unless you've physically seen it in your life before. And
yeah,
so I
yeah, yeah,
wonder, like, because obviously Sienna is dealing with mental health struggles. Her
Yeah,
father was dealing with mental health struggles. So have they been to this hospital before? Have they
yeah,
seen me before? I think that these are all like possibilities, you know?
yeah, 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 yeah,
there's
yeah.
also a lot of things that I've this is like probably the craziest theory that I've heard is that everybody thinks Art is Sienna's dad. I don't know if
I
you've seen
have
that.
heard that. Well, the day of the premiere, like we were all in New York City, and I had brought a friend with me, and he turned to me during the movie and was like, "Is Art Sienna's dad?" And I was like, "I don't." I don't think so at all. I did not get that at all, but so many other people were saying that. And the reason why I don't think it makes any sense is because I think it's been a year since the first killings in Terrifier 1, but
Yeah,
their dad hasn't been dead that long. I don't
yeah,
think.
yeah.
I think he
Yeah,
died after the killing. So how could he be Art?
yeah, crazy. And also with the
I don't
notebook
know.
and everything, with the drawings,
Yeah.
it's yeah, it is crazy to think. it's a cool theory to really think about. Like a lot of the other ones that are out there. Because there's so many of them, it's so hard to keep track. But that's the one that sticks out the most to me. That I hear everybody talking about. It's like,
So many people, but I don't agree with that one. It's so Darth Vader too.
yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
crazy. It's very, very crazy. Another one is like, what I was thinking, I was like, what if everything Sienna's seeing is not real? What if like what is real is like the clown cafe
Oh
or the
gosh.
ending, but like the whole main movie is a dream.
Is all a dream. Well, I
That'd
was
be an
thinking that the
interesting.
clown cafe is definitely, it's got to be hell in some respect. And I feel like all of us there are sort of like trapped in hell.
Yeah.
Like maybe we're some of his victims or somehow related to the story. I don't really know, but that's my thought on the clown cafe. I'm excited to get the DVD because I know Damien is going to talk more about it because
Yes.
I don't know what it means.
Yeah, I know he tweeted out too. He said there's two people on social media that know what the significance of Clown Cafe is. Like
Yeah,
100%. He said when the DVD comes out, I talk about it in the commentary. So I'm very, very excited to what it actually means because like we all
me
have our
too.
theories. Like hell is what I was thinking. Like that's the one I'm thinking of too. It's like this is Sienna's hell, and it's like her way of bringing art here or something like that. Whatever it
Hmm.
may be. It doesn't really pop up officially in her life until after she dreams about him.
Yeah.
So there's so much to this movie, so much.
Yeah.
Um, another thing I wanted to talk to you about because you do a lot of content. You don't just do the movies and whatnot. You also do streaming and you
Yeah.
also do a co-host spot on It's All Geek to Me podcast. So how's the podcast going?
Oh, the podcast is going great. We are less than a year old. We're a little baby podcast, but we're doing really well for how young we are. And we're getting such great responses from people. Essentially, the concept of it is two best friends experiencing nerdy franchises for the first time. But for seasons 1 and 2, I have experienced these franchises already. So I'm just like showing them to Kelly for the first time, my co-host. So for season 1, we watched through all the Lord of the Rings, which are my favorite movies of all time. And now we're doing Star Wars. And yeah, we just basically watch the movies in chunks and then record episodes and sort of just like go through everything and our thoughts. I share fun facts along the way. And that's just been so good. And it's one thing I think alongside Late Bloomer Pictures is something I'm really trying to put my focus into, like those two projects, because I like being the person in charge of the creativity, if that
Same.
makes sense. Like I
Mhm.
love being an actor, but I also like being able to make the behind the scenes decisions as well.
Yeah,
And both
I
of
I
those
agree to that.
projects allow me to do that.
And like with a podcast, there's so much you can do.
Hmm.
And the streaming also that you've been doing. I mean, you've been doing horror games, which that just fuels even more of your love for the horror genre. And how's that been going?
Yeah, that's been good. That I've been doing for like a little over a year and a half. And I knew going into it that I wanted to be a horror streamer, but I also felt like I needed a little bit of like time to just sort of get used to streaming. So I started with like nostalgia streaming, kind of doing older retro games like old
Yeah,
Mario games and Zelda. And um that was fun because it was like easy for me. These are like games that I've played before. But once I started transitioning into horror, maybe like 5 or 6 months ago, I made the switch over. That has just, it's been so much fun because the games I primarily play are these like story formatted games where you're like making decisions that
yeah.
are then going to impact the story. And if you choose wrong, your characters will die gruesome deaths. So those are so fun because they stress me out. The jump scares always get me.
Oh, that's
And
great.
yeah, and it's like just watching movies with your friends, but I get to choose how they end.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, those are so fun to play. And it's been a really great way to connect with more people in the Terrifier community. Like they've been really great and supportive over there on the channel and helping me grow. And yeah, I just want to give everyone as much and the best content as possible. And I have many ways that I'm doing that at the moment.
Yeah,
Lots of
I need to
content
tune into
coming
the
from me.
streams. I really, really.
They're fun. We have a good time. You totally should.
Go ahead, Dean. I think you had something you wanted to say.
Oh no, no, I'm good,
No,
man.
you good? Okay.
Yeah. I'm just listening to you guys.
But
What was it?
stream. Oh, okay.
I'm
Sorry, D.
sorry, man. I was gonna say, what was the name of that podcast again? I'm gonna check that podcast out.
It's called It's All Geek to Me.
It's all geek to me.
I can
Yeah.
send you a link after too. I actually started listening. I
Ah,
think
nice.
this week, so I need to backtrack and actually start from the beginning.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
what's great about it is each season lives independently of each other. Like, you don't need to listen. If you're not interested in Lord of the Rings, you don't have to listen to that one. You could just go straight to Star Wars or vice versa. So that's what's good about it too.
yeah, and we kind of like us, like this podcast. We're only a little over a year. We're probably like a year. I want to say 7 months, so we're pretty new too, and just seeing how fast you can grow as a podcast, and I know
Mhm.
especially Terrifier's definitely been helping you out on all aspects and everything, and that's why
100%.
I'm excited to really jump into your streams, see how the horror community is treating you, because horror community is great, and that's
Oh,
one
yeah.
thing everybody always talks about, is like how great the community is with conventions and also on social media and supporting other
Mhm.
people's content and whatnot. um so I'm very, very excited to see how everybody is interacting over there and even make new friends. That's why I
Yeah.
love doing this show, is we make friends like you. Now you're part of the
Yeah.
family and whatnot, and
No,
then
I love
going
that
on
too.
streaming.
I love how many people I've had the opportunity to meet and talk with, and yeah, especially over on the stream. Like, everyone is so nice and supportive, and they're just constantly saying, like, so many people are saying how happy they are that they're like a part of the community now. And like, I'm just happy that I'm through Terrifier and through the horror community, that I'm able to just carve out like my little corner of the internet with these like just awesome people. And I'm having like just a ton of fun these past few months, just making content and connecting with people. And I can't wait for the conventions to just like chat with people more.
Oh yeah, keep grinding. Keep
Yeah,
grinding. That's
never
what
stop.
life's all about now, is grinding.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, we've got some great conventions over here in the UK as well. So it'd be good to see you this side of the pond.
That would be amazing. I would
Dean will
love
be
that.
vending them.
Oh
For
yeah,
sure.
I pretty much work at all of them. But there's two really good horror ones specifically. There's one in Sheffield, there's one in Manchester, which was just last October. But I think they're looking at
Dean's
getting quite.
box.
Oh yeah,
So
and
all of
it's
that's his
empty.
hot sauce
Oh,
box.
fun.
That needs filling up, man. It needs filling up.
Oh.
Yeah, there's one. I'll send you some over. There's one in particular called For the Love of Horror. That was the one that Damien, David, and Samantha were at recently, and I
Yeah.
think they're looking at getting some more Terrified guests over again next year. Um,
If I could come out there, I 100% would. I haven't been to
yeah.
England in a long time, and I'd like to go back.
Do it.
So you have visited before?
I actually studied abroad in London. So I was there for like
Ooh.
6 months. It was like the first time I ever like lived on my own, like outside of a
Oh,
dorm
yeah.
in my like own
In
apartment. So
London too. Wow.
What part of
yeah.
London? Where?
Um, I was at the University of Westminster, and I
Okay,
was
yeah.
living in West London, like just outside of Notting Hill.
Would you
Like,
like Gloucester Road or something like that? Or
I
that was
that's so familiar. I don't think I was over there, but there's a canal, and then there's there's a Portobello Market. I was
oh
right
yeah,
near
yeah,
the
yeah.
market. Yeah, I
I
was like
know.
a few blocks away from that.
Ah, that's cool. I wondered because I played in bands for years and years, and we used to play in a club in Soho, and there was tons of American students that used to come
Mm.
check the band. We didn't go on till like midnight, and the majority of them were all kind of staying that part of London, or like Gloucester Road, Earls Court, all around that kind of area as well. So yeah, I
Oh,
just
that's
wondered if
fun.
you'd ever passed through.
I
But
probably have, honestly. I don't remember like
yeah.
every single place that I've been to there, but I know I spent a lot of time in Camden
Oh
specifically.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
my spiritual home, Camden. Yeah,
I
that's where I
love
grew
that.
up.
I
Dean tells me
love
about
it.
Camden all the time.
Oh,
That's
it's
where
so good.
yeah,
It's
that's
so
where I
good.
grew up, Camden. Yeah.
I'm making my way over to the UK very soon. I don't travel like at all, especially with having
Mm.
a 4-year-old who's going to be 5 in February,
Oh,
and a partner and everything, and our life has just been so crazy. And this podcast has been taking up a lot of time, but it's good time, and I love doing this
yeah.
show. And having you on, Leah, it's been awesome. We took a little bit of a break, so your episode's going to be the first one to come out after about a week and a half break.
Oh, nice.
So I can't wait for everybody to listen to this, and hear more about the things that you're doing outside of Terrifier, and carving out some time out of your other schedules to come over here and talk to Dean and I. This has been great.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. It's always fun. I like talking about myself.
Clip that.
And I'm very humble as well, extremely humble.
Yeah. Dean, I don't know if you have any questions that you want to throw last or whatnot.
No, man, I'm good. I'm good. My list is all ticked off.
Yeah.
I've
Leah.
just been listening to everything that you've been up to, and I'm definitely gonna go and check that podcast out.
Oh yeah. It's fun. It's fun. But Leah, would you sing a little bit of Clown Cafe for us?
Oh, putting me on the spot. Okay, I could do a little bit. All right. I wish I had
Sing
my
us out.
guitar with me. Drop on by the Clown Cafe, your favorite meals on wheels. The menu is disgusting and it's full of special deals. Nothing here is good for you, so grab yourselves a tray, 'cause food's a little funny at the Clown Cafe.
All right.
Oh yes, yes.
Oh, so fun.
Yes. All right, we're gonna send you to our record, and they're gonna sign you, and you're just gonna produce that one song in multiple versions and make millions of dollars. Okay.
Amazing. We'll do it in every genre.
Exactly.
Same
Exactly.
song.
Oh, we'll do it in polka next. Polka's the next one.
Amazing.
The Slipknot version.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This has been great, Leah. Thank you for carving out the time and spending it with us. And I'm sure we'll be chatting again soon and talking about some other projects. Definitely checking out everything at Late Bloomers. I really respect that out. Catch up on your podcast, and this is everything else everybody listening and watching needs to do. And go into streaming and watch everything else that you're going to be doing. We'll be keeping track of your roadmap essentially of everything coming out. So.
And maybe I'll get to see you in Salem in April.
Yes.
Try to make that happen.
For sure. I'll be there, even if it's not the fest. I'll be there throughout the year. So, been great. Dean, now as always, thank you for being well and taking the time, because I know you are 5 hours ahead of us. So it's always it's a lot, I know, for you, and it's great.
It's worth it, man. It's worth it, man. I love being here.
So Leah, thank you so much for being here, and we will let you off the hook now, let you go and prepare for anything else you got going on this week. This was Baron's Hideout Podcast. I was Leah Voysey, Dean of the Dead. Catch everybody next time. Have a good one.